So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening, whenever you're listening. Welcome to the Divine Mess. Welcome to the 62nd episode of the Divine Mess. Yeah, I know I said two like in French, and Tina will point it out. And I'm sure my voice coach Wendy will say, "You said two," just like a Frenchie. So, welcome to this episode. Today, I have a great honor and pleasure to have one of my friends that I actually met in person. It's incredible human being, I would say, spiritual being. It feels like I'm meeting him again. So yes, we are having a meal again, which I'm very excited about. And just before we introduce him, for the first time listeners, welcome. This is the Divine Mess, where we have fun conversation about spirituality and how to make it practical, and where we give simple tips. And this year we have decided to open our virtual couch. And like always, I'm joined by my co-host, who is 8 hours of flight away from me. He is a self-love coach. Self-love coach. She doesn't love the label. She's a busy mom with four boys, surrounded by boys, and she has a beautiful partner as well. Her name is Tina Marie, and she served the world in different ways, one of which is helping women to go through the separation and divorce as well, and to get into the best second season of their life. For, as for me, I'm Kirtideva Peruman, also known as Deva. I'm the cosmic alchemist at the Golden Temple. So it's all about transmuting your fears into love. And today I have the pleasure to have a celebrated martial arts and holistic health practitioner with over 40 years of experience in Tai Chi, Qigong, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, but Bagua Zhang, uh, he can correct me later. Known for his dynamic teaching method, he has led countless workshops, seminars, and classes helping students of all ages achieve their wellness and martial art goals. And I must say, I have been at the receiving end of different session, I would say, and it feels very blessed to have him. He also is a decorated competitor. He holds 24 gold and 7 silver medals from national and international events, and he's very humble about one fact that he has been inducted in multiple martial arts Hall of Fame, including the New Zealand and Australasian Martial Arts Hall of Fame. So welcome, Dave. It's an honor and pleasure to have you on this episode.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. So first of all, I know part of your story. Well, I would say part, but we have spoken for hours. It feels like we have known each other for a long time. You have been one of my spiritual catalysts. So can you share your journey with our audience, those who has not yet had the pleasure to meet you, a bit your journey about your spiritual awakening, and talk a bit about your Tai Chi practice as well? Just if you want briefly, but if you want to go longer, go for it.
Okay. I'm a man of few words, but I'll try and sort of encapsulate it, I suppose. Um, I think when I was very young, maybe 7 or 8, um, I had a lot of like dreams, and a lot of them were like sort of like levitating, and I would dream that I had bunks, and I sort of levitate off the top bunk, which is where I slept. And then all of a sudden I would go, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. This is crazy, sort of thing. And then I would fall to the ground. And anyway, I sort of had a drawing to things, I guess, spiritual, or different. I guess it was when you were that age. I didn't quite understand, but I used to get quite a nice feeling sometimes of a lot of lightness and stuff like that. But I didn't understand what it was, but it felt really good. And I guess this sort of encouraged me to pursue things. And back probably like in the 70s, there wasn't a lot sort of about. So I sort of would read a little bit meditation, and I would try different things and stuff. And I think I would sort of, some days I'd get like, oh, this feels really good. And then, you know, mum would knock on the door and it's like, damn, I lost it, sort of thing, you know. But I hung on to that. So I had a little drawing, you know, and I'd buy incense and stuff like that sort of thing, rather than playing rugby and so on. So I guess I was a little bit different. I don't think it was quite what my dad wanted me to be, but anyway, there you go. And I started judo first off, because that's really what was around in those days, and I quite liked that. And I did that for a few years, and I started work, and I broke my kneecap. So I developed some arthritis in my knee, and I still wanted to do something like a martial art, but I was finding it a little bit difficult to do the judo. So anyway, I heard through a friend about it, and an elderly, I suppose he called it elderly Tai Chi master in Christchurch. So I rang up and said, oh, you know, I'd like to learn Tai Chi. And he was a man of few words, and he goes, good, see you tomorrow, 6 a.m. So I was like, okay, and then put the phone down. I was like, okay, wow, okay, that's pretty cool, exciting, you know. So I got up the next morning, and it was in the middle of winter, you know, it was pitch black, and I hopped on my push bike and I push biked into town. And I can remember waiting outside the room that he said to meet him at, and there was nobody there. And I was like, oh, I looked at my watch, and I get time's right about 5:45. And then, you know, when you're sort of quite young, I think I was probably about like 15 or so. And then sort of out of the darkness, this Chinese man sort of appeared, sort of thing. And I said, oh, you know, no, I'm Dave, I rang you. And he said, yeah, good. And then I followed him up the stairs once he'd opened the door. And and I thought my hearing was sort of playing up on me, because I couldn't hear anything when he was stepping up the stairs. And I was like, oh, this is quite mysterious, you know, it's quite cool. So anyway, that was the start of my journey. And I guess in some ways, being middle of winter, there wasn't a lot of other people learning. There was just really myself and Master Lu Chi Hu. So I got some good, great learning from him. And that was the start of my journey. I learned it for the health side, but I had a passion for the martial arts side as well. So I discovered that he wouldn't share it unless you actually asked him. And if you showed that you were dedicated and actually put in the practice, he would actually share some knowledge in regards to the martial arts side. But he didn't really quite like that side very much. But anyway, he shared that with me, so I got a better understanding, I think, of Tai Chi as a martial art. And then, you know, I sort of, got interested more of the Chi energy side, because that was what really sort of excited me. And I did it for health for quite a while. I was his first student to go and teach in Christchurch, apart from him, and started teaching in a scout den. I pursued my journey, and I heard about Kundalini, and I read about that. I did some research, and I thought, oh, I wonder if I could have a Kundalini awakening, you know. And you know, there's things you want to pursue because it's different and unusual. So anyway, I did the preparation work, I guess you could say, and probably about 3 or 4 months later, I in the scout den in my lunch break, I had a Kundalini awakening, and I knew what was happening, and I knew what to do, and so on, and not to panic and so on. And I can just remember a blue light coming up from the soles of my feet, and it was like being struck by lightning, and my whole body was shaking and all over the place, sort of thing. But it felt incredibly wonderful, and the power, I guess, of the experience, I can't really describe, but I guess I felt that if I went out, I could pick up a car and it wouldn't be a problem, sort of thing. So that's what I can liken it to. So that was cool. And then after that, I sort of I guess my senses got heightened and so on, and I didn't quite really understand the process afterwards. I just knew what I'd sort of had, and yeah, I found that everything was exaggerated. My touch, my hearing. I couldn't sleep. Eating was sort of up and down, and so on. So I went through a few years, I think, of changing into a different person, I guess you could call it, sort of thing. And it was almost like I was sort of out of control, which was, but I didn't realize it was the Kundalini waking. I thought, what the heck? So anyway, yeah, and then I sort of became to understand it, I guess, in a way, and I started using it. How to use that increased energy and perception and so on, to help myself and then to help others. And then I started doing Tai Chi competition. My friend in Auckland suggested it. Have you ever tried it? And I said, what? Tai Chi competition? What's that? So you perform the Tai Chi form with several other people on the carpet, and you're judged on your timing, your pause, your balance, all these sort of things. And I thought, this is really quite good because it challenged you yourself rather than trying to like beat someone in like sparring or something like that, which wasn't really me. So I found that I guess I was had a talent for it, I guess, or and I really enjoyed it. I met some wonderful people all over the world, and competed in 3 world champs in China because I always wanted to go to China. So that sort of enabled me to get there and so on. And I look back and I remember Master Lu Chi saying, now that you're teaching, you must help people help themselves. So I took that as, I guess, as a life vow as to that's what I should be doing. And now I guess I look at creative ways how I can promote Tai Chi in the different things that I do. Not necessarily, just teaching a class each week or, one-on-one, private tuition and so on, but actually through doing demonstrations and so on, it promotes the art. You get a connection with people, and then it sort of has a follow-on effect. Other things happening in the background, and then I've started working with mental health and addiction services. So I'm quite fortunate that I'm starting to weave that into the clinical system, and I'm working with some of my clients with coping with anxiety and stress and so on. So I feel quite blessed that I'm actually able to, start doing that because I think it's quite needed in our world at the moment, and it's becoming more accepted in the medical system. And that's pretty much where I am really at the moment. Hopefully it wasn't too long.
When David was telling me about working with you, for some reason, I had this image of Mr. Miyagi in my head.
Yeah.
But just for the sheer calmness that he, and reverence of when he spoke about his time with you and how it left him. And I remember him talking about walking uphill, and David explained to me about how to make walking uphill easier, like you were moving as part of a wave. Mm-hmm. And so now every time I walk uphill, that's something. So via David, your impact and influence has hopped from New Zealand across to Australia. So every time I'm walking uphill, I drag my hands out behind me like I'm a kid touching, all the wheat stalks in a field and going, yep, I can feel that. And I'm moving uphill a little bit faster than I thought I would. So it's very interesting, and it's such a, like you were saying, such a needed thing to be able to introduce spirituality, but in a easier sense for people in the mental health space. I think you know, we're so disconnected in the Western world from deeper understanding of self and having that ability to be able to add those little 1%ers, you know, every time you meet somebody, it's just like we talk about all the time. It's just those little practical things that people can apply to their lives that make it a little bit easier to cope with their own divine mess, however that looks for them, but it still gives them the ability to go, oh, what did Dave teach me about that? Or, you know, what did I hear about on the podcast? Or just the little things that give people a better sense of self. I had one of those last night, went and caught up with some friends and walked away from the experience going, oh, we're not aligned anymore. You know, you work out they're not actually in the same frequency field as you anymore. And even though there were 3 of us and 2, myself and another lady, have been in quite close contact, and the 3rd lady is kind of a mutual friend, it was almost like, oh, I was really excited to see her. And then you walk away and you go, oh, she's on her path doing her own thing, but what it teaches you is about your own boundaries and your own need to listen to all the little signs that you're getting along the way as to why you're not connecting like you used to, because you're being redirected. But we as humans always want to bring it all together for ourselves. So, you know, it's interesting when we start to dive in and look at the soul and what it's trying to teach us. And it's so lovely to have someone like yourself join us on the couch who's into that sort of stuff. It warms my heart on a Saturday morning. It makes me very happy.
Thank you. I sort of find it quite exciting. Journeying with some, we call it tangata whaiora, which is Maori for people that need in need of healing, and actually I like being practical, and I use trees as recyclers of energy and so on. So I teach them techniques to engage with a tree in a certain way, and breathing and so on. And so they actually get to have a physical experience of wow, gosh, I never knew that it could be like this, or it could feel like this, and gosh, within a minute or something, I feel completely different. So it's sort of I guess real practical skills. I tell you, it's a good one. It's called the crown technique, which is really good because wherever you are, sometimes there's always that some people that challenge us and so on. So the crown technique, if you're looking at that, everything is energy, right? So your thought process, your thought is energy as well. Now, if you see a person, pick out a good quality that you know about them. Say they might be really good at hockey. So when you go into the room and you see them, and you go, look, there's Sally, and think of it. You just go, think, there's Sally. She's really, really good at hockey. She's got that mastered sort of thing. Just think that about them, and you'll find that they'll actually start to like you, but they won't know why. So it's a good technique that I teach people, because it's always a bit of a challenge to negotiate people that you're not resonating with, sort of thing. But that thought process and sending that thought out to them, don't tell them that they're good at it, but think it, and just try that a few times and see what happens.
I'll take that tip and apply it to my ex-husband, and know that the great thing that came from us being together for over 20 years was 2 amazing young humans, and he's an amazing human, just not my amazing human. So, I think that's a really important thing for people to work out. And like you say, I go, he's really good at that, and he's really good at that, and he's really entrepreneurial, and they're all the skills that my children have collected from both of us, because they're similar traits, but there's just not a meeting of the minds in certain things. But I will endeavour to do that on a more regular basis. And I think I've been listening to Brené Brown's Rising Strong. I don't know whether you've read that or heard the audio book, but I've been listening to that and going, oh yeah, it's interesting when you get two people with unresolved trauma and you put them together, and their ways of circling each other and not actually admitting to hurt or pain. And she said, you know, they'll throw in words like whatever, instead of actually diving in. And that was my ex-husband's go-to. Whenever he didn't want to play the game, it was like, no, whatever. And it would just irate me. But when I heard her talking about it in her book yesterday, I went, you know how you have that next level of understanding about a person, you go, ah, okay. I need to write a little gratitude note back to him and say, thank you so much for being the greatest teacher of my life. And thank you for all the great blessings and joys that you brought to my life. And I hope that you find exactly that within yours. So it's a good tip, I think, for a lot of people, and particularly if you're working with people that you don't necessarily get along with, or if you have family members that are not necessarily your flavour of people, that is a really good thing to find their strength and have admiration for that and gratitude that they are good at that, because they're hopefully serving the world by teaching people the things that they're really, really good at. So thank you for the life tip. I knew there was a reason why I came and had coffee with you two gents this morning.
Yeah, that's how amazing he is. That's how he is. Like, he will just throw a tip out of the blue and you don't know where it's coming, and then it hit you like this. This is Dave. What you just heard, this is pure Dave. Like, that's what I like about, because for me, like, Dave is, I always told him that he's like my spiritual catalyst. And in many things, like, he taught me about Tai Chi, which I didn't understand at that time. And another part of his studies as well that you're studying is like hermetics, which I know like you're a student of it. But we have not talked about this part. But there's one thing I wanted to go back on the Tai Chi, for example, which Dave is very humble about. He actually has hold a world Guinness record for the longest number of hours, I think, of Tai Chi practice. And he did it in 40 hours, right? Or
30 hours and 15 minutes.
30 hours and 15 minutes. So that's one of how humble he is. He wouldn't even talk about it. It was, I think, in the last weeks that we were working together that he told me, oh yeah, you know, like casually, out of the blue, just like he did about the tip, that actually I hold a World Guinness Book record, you know, like, and that's how amazing he is in terms of his humbleness, and which I really appreciate. But for me, like, the question that I have, so that the audience can understand better also, is, since you have been practicing Tai Chi, like, what does Tai Chi represent for you now? And how can you, like, in simple terms, share it with people, like explain it to our audience?
Okay. Yeah. The the Guinness Book of Records. Yes, I did break the record, but it's not official. So if you have a look on it, I won't be the record holder of it. And unfortunately, because it wasn't just me, it was my lovely wife Michelle. She was organising the team because it had to be documented and so on. But unfortunately, the young guy that videoed it didn't come through. He videoed it, but there were problems, and he skipped the country, and we found out that the video evidence wasn't uploaded as it should be, so that put us out of the thing. But hey, we knew that we did it, and we raised money for the South Canterbury Cancer Society. So that's what I tell people now. But hey, it was a great lesson for impermanence for me, wasn't it? As well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like what does Tai Chi mean for me now? Is I think Tai Chi is a way of life, I guess, a way of looking at life possibly through a different lens. You know, I always sort of think back to what Master Lu Chi would say about things if I get a wee bit stumped and so on. But I think a surprising thing, you know, like you were saying with the Guinness Book of Records and so on, and it was in the paper. You know, I live in a small country town, so it was in the paper and so on. And I was at a group for addiction group, and it was the first time I'd been there, and I was sitting in with the group as like part of the group. I wasn't facilitating it, and we were sitting there, and a guy was sort of looking at me for a little bit, sort of about the corner of his eye, and then we had a break, and he goes, "Are you that guy that broke the world record for, you know, longest Tai Chi sort of thing that was in the paper?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, that was me." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, look, I know you, you know," sort of thing. So automatically we had this connection, and I was like, "Wow, hey, that's a good lesson for me." Like, I didn't know him before, but he knew me through this other means, something I did with Tai Chi, you know. So I was like, "Oh wow, okay." So that was like a discovery for me, and I thought, okay, that's another way that I've used Tai Chi to connect with people. And then, you know, he had a bit of a interest in that, and stuff. So that was a great connection there. You know, I do some performances and stuff in public, just as part of some, you know, youth festival. I think last week I did a demonstration, and it's all right, I guess, supporting people as well. It's, you know, it's entertainment and stuff, and you're meeting new people and they get to know you and stuff, which is a great thing. You know, it's a sharing.
So your Tai Chi movements, I'm just trying to work it out in my own head.
Yeah.
Is it like a yoga asana? Is it, you know, that there's a series of movements that you practice on rote? Is that how Tai Chi works, like a sun salutation, or, you know? So I'm just trying to make it make sense. I've seen people practice Tai Chi, but not actually been to a class, so I don't fully understand how it works.
Okay. The first, it's a series of movements that flow from one to another. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit like meditation and movement, I guess you could describe it. The first thing that you learn in Tai Chi is your balance, your center of gravity control. And then you start to learn to relax from that balance point, that physical balance point. You tend to relax, and actually it's about letting go of things, letting go of tension, letting go of stress, letting go of monkey mind, and so on. So you're letting go of things. And then, you know, you have a good platform for your balance, and then your body relaxes. And then when your body relaxes, then your mind starts to relax as well, and the two of them become in tune with each other, I guess. And you know, certainly when you're learning something, you're consciously trying to remember the movements, and that is part of your learning as well. It can teach you patience sometimes, but I always say patience, perseverance, and just practice. You know, that's what it is to get it. And then like the third thing is the chi or energy that will come sort of after that. And but we start experiencing a little bit with the chi and stuff in the early days as well. And once you learn later on, learn to completely let go of all tension in your body, in your mind. Relax your muscles, open your joints, because we store a lot of residual tension in our joints through stress and so on. So we're opening the joints, letting that tension out. Muscles become soft and relaxed, but we learn how to engage the fascia of tissue between our joints, because fascia is conductive of chi. So that way we can remain very relaxed and flowing in our movements, but actually quite strong, because the fascia is actually quite strong. And we can conduct our chi or energy through the fascia structure. And so we get a lot of healing out of that as well. So Tai Chi is a many faceted jewel, I think. And I'd always be asking my master, he was like 60 when I first started learning. I was like, what does your chi feel like now? And then he would go, it's good. And then 10 years later, I was like, what does your chi feel like now? And it's still good, and he wouldn't actually really tell me a lot about it. And I was like, okay. And then I thought, when I'm 60, I wonder what my chi will feel like, sort of thing. And it feels good. So I can understand now why, because you can't really tell somebody what their journey is going to be like, because it is a little bit of an individual thing as well. And I think it's not right to, if you say, you will start feeling this or you will start feeling that and so on, because it might not be that, but you have to discover that yourself. And I think, in another 10 years' time, what will my chi feel like? And I'm sure it will feel good.
I know I had that similar sort of experience, because when I had separated from my ex-husband, a friend of mine was a yogi, and she said, come to class, just come to class. I'm like, okay, because you're at a loose end, you're used to being a 24/7 parent, and then all of a sudden you're not for a whole week, and it's like, what do I do with myself? So you go to yoga, and in a similar vein, it's an unveiling of yourself and understanding yourself, and like you say, quietening down the monkey mind and all the thoughts that are running through your brain, and gives you an opportunity for self-examination and for looking at your personal stuff from lots of different facets. And it also gives you the ability to feel stronger within yourself, not only physically but mentally and emotionally and spiritually, that you get a better handle on where you are in space and time. And I get the feeling from you that Tai Chi is also like that, but just in a different format. It's a bit like David and I speak about, religion, and how there is commonality, and there is a similar thread that runs through everything that we have in this world. And like when you talk about movements and chi, and and yoga is asanas, and it's chakras, and it's energy, and so there is that commonality that goes through all of it. It's just yours is from a different part of the world, so they practice their physical and energetic movement a little bit differently. It's represented differently, but it still provides people with that same awakening. And I think if I hadn't learnt about that practice, I don't know if I would have been led on such a spiritual journey as what I have undergone in the last 10 plus years, if it wasn't for my yogi, like pressing the button and saying, come on in, the water's good, you know, you've just got to jump off the edge of the boat, basically. So it's a nice thing to, like, I've gone, okay, I'm going to dive into this and see if that works for me too, just to try it out. You know, I think that's the bit about life, isn't it? It's about tasting and experimenting and trying new things and see how they sit and fit, and, you know, and watching someone like yourself who just has that ease and calm, which I'm sure, you know, like all of us, you have your own divine mess which you're dealing with. But it's nice to be in the presence of somebody who has a really calming, peaceful energy. And I don't know if a lot of humans have that ability to mix with a lot of people that have that real ease and calm about themselves, or, you know, they don't go looking for it, because then it means they might have to stop for 5 seconds and start examining themselves, and that gets a little bit hairy for the best of us when we start pulling the layers back and having a look. But yes, your teachings and your learnings have been passed on from David to me to others. So your reach is far and wide, Mr. Dave, without you realising, I think.
Bless, thank you. That's really nice to sort of hear things, and I guess, you know, I'm just carrying on, say, you know, like my master's legacy, and that's what he passed on to me. So it's really humbling to know that that is actually just flowing onward, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have someone that is now coming to you, like you went to your master and looking for that, please show me all the secrets of the universe? Are you in that phase now where someone's knocking on your door and tell me all your secrets? I want to know how it all works.
Yes, I have some wonderful students, and some, you know, very dedicated students that are really interested in the path, and following that, and discovering for themselves, sort of thing. So I guess, yeah, it's you know, they say, you know, has your chi feel now? Feels good.
And for, you know, like on your journey, like you mentioned about the Kundalini awakening, have you been experiencing like more awakenings on this journey now? And like, how are you navigating through them as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel sometimes, I think I go through periods where I'll have I guess, I don't know how you describe it, like like an upload or something like that of a file, I guess, if you put it in those terminology, or increase in energy. So I do find that sometimes I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be wide awake, and I'll feel the energy sort of, and I'll go, right, okay, we're going through a bit of an increase here, sort of thing. So I'll just sort of, let it take its course, and usually in about 3 days or so on, it starts to sort of settle down, and or you become used to the next, I guess you could call it level, or whatever it is. So it's, I think, awareness of that, and then not fighting it, but just going with it and accepting it, and enjoying it as well. I before, like you were saying with hermetics, and I knew that I had cultivated chi in my body. I could feel it. I could feel like the expansion and so on. And I was like, okay, I can use it in the Tai Chi. But then I was like, what else can I do with this energy? It's like, what do I do now? And then I discovered, started reading about hermetics, and the principles of that, and in relation to martial arts as well. And then it was like, oh, okay, so it's a little bit like you started driving the car rather than just sitting and revving the accelerator, and that you actually started to drive the car and change gears and so on like that. So I learned to bring the energy outside my body and use it. And then just techniques of condensing, expanding the chi in places of power. Because what we focus on, we start resonating with on an energetic level. And I discovered the thing that sort of stops maybe that is our mind. And the mind is a powerful thing, and I sort of underestimated, I think, really the power of it. So I say to people, if you want to do that Qigong exercise or the Tai Chi, go to places of power, and that might be like the forest. It could be the beach. They bring in the chi, floats in on top of the waves and pulls within about 1 or 2 meters of the shoreline, where the waves come in and go out. So practice in that area, and you start to resonate on that level. So we get like uploads of power through practicing in that environment sort of thing. So it's like, oh, cool, what am I going to do today? And I got some spare time, I'll go for a walk in the forest, or I'll go down the beach and be in a place of power. Sort of thing. So you play with it, it's fun, and be creative and light-hearted about it, because you should enjoy it.
I had the opportunity to experience it with you and to be taught by you, like when we were with the trees, like I'm on the trees. So could you elaborate a bit more on how you go to that place of power, for example, near the waves, and how you can play with energy? Because I know you love to play with energy. I was at the end of it as well, experiencing the force of it when you were just like, and not using any like, I would say, like human power, but actually the chi, you were like transmuting that energy and returning back to me. So when we were practicing like like the martial arts, even while we were gardening, so we had time to do that, but you were like showing the power of the chi that's coming like from just you grounding yourself, and could you like elaborate a bit more for people who loves going in nature, yet like they have not been able to ground themselves maybe and play with that energy?
Okay. A fun way to do that is like hug a tree. The old sort of the hippie saying, tree huggers and something like that. Well, it sort of has a wee bit of truth to it. Is I teach students to go find a tree, or the tree will find you. Something that a tree that I'm drawn to that tree, and place your palms on the tree, and sort of brace your legs a little bit like if someone was walking by, they would think you may be doing a stretch before you started jogging. So if you feel a little bit self-conscious, you could pretend that you're stretching, sort of thing. So, and just feel the tree underneath your palms, and then breathe in through your palms from the tree into your body. So it takes a wee bit of imagination, and it does take practice. So breathing in through your palms. So physically you would breathe in at the same time, because that is going to sort of back up the sensation. So you breathe in through your palms into your body, and then breathe out from your body, out through your palms, back into the tree. So you've got a back and forth sort of a condensing, contracting, releasing sort of thing, like a bellows, I guess, back and forth. Now, trees are conductive of chi. So if you're feeling a bit flat or a bit stressed or whatever, this will actually get rid of all that stagnant chi from your body, and it will recharge you and realign your energy system as well. So So you should go away feeling quite refreshed and grounded through doing that. I had one person that I showed, and within probably maybe 20 seconds, she sort of jumped back. She's like, "Oh my god, I can actually feel something, and I feel completely different," sort of thing, And then, oh, let me try that again, And then she practices quite regularly and gets a lot of benefit from it. So the trees are all around us, and we can use them as tools to help heal us.
And also, like, I know, like, you told me about how, like, about speaking to a tree as well, being in connection with a tree. But the exercise that I loved the most was with the waves, like when you were saying, like, go into that space of power with the wave. Could you share a bit more about that as well?
Okay.
Because you have so many, like, like you have so many wisdom within you. Like, I can tap in. I know where to tap in. I'm just holding back.
um, I think too is that also too, it's like the Tai Chi journey. Also too, I need to be careful that saying, oh, this is what it's going to be like as well, or whatever. But you need to practice, and you need to go through the journey to start experiencing that. I guess, like, say, once you build up a resonance of energy, which you can feel expanded in your body, and you can bring it out of your body and so on, with the use of your mind and breath. Then you could it feels like sort of, I guess, a little bit tangible. And if you're seeing someone doing Tai Chi, and they have the ability, I think I've heard it likened like swimming on land, because it has this syrupy sort of flowing sort of nature to the movement. So it does look like you're actually swimming through water, and it sort of feels like that in a way. You feel the air around you becomes quite dense and so on. So it sort of has that feeling. So then what you can do is you can actually start playing with that energy. And like I said, the mind is like the governor of what you do with your energy. So where you direct your mind. So if I'm like saying the water element, say, okay, so what is the characteristic of water? Water has a density to it. It has a flowing, it has a strength to it. It sort of melds around things, it flows around things, and it's nurturing. So, like if I'm practicing, say, the water element with my energy, I might be walking along, and with my mind, I'm imagining that there's a wave swirling around just behind me, and those waves are sort of rolling and surrounding me and pushing me forward. So I will start to get the experience of that, like there is a wave of water that's actually pushing me forward. And you can play with that, like if you're going up a mountain or something like that, you can bring the picture the waves. And the thing is to actually just let go of all physical striving to get up the path of the mountain, and just let your intent of it and the waves actually push you up. The more that you start engaging physically and thinking, oh, push, then the energy goes. But the more that you actually just relax and just let your mind do that, you'll find that you actually just be pushed up the mountain with the energy, and play with it in creative ways like that. Or if you're going downhill, just bring the waves coming back up, maybe just against you, holding you back a little bit, rather than sort of running down and stuff, getting too fast. So yeah, like just be creative, and it's all with the mind. Is things are limitless, really. It's just the mind that holds you back. by going, oh, maybe, you know, this shouldn't be right, you know, be able to do this sort of thing, you know. But yeah, if you believe that you can do it, you'll be able to do it. But it's practice, and you know, and playing with the energy, be playful, and with your practice. Does that sort of make sort of a little bit of?
It makes a lot of sense, but I think it's a really nice permission slip for people to invite childlike play into their day, because so many of us get wrapped up in the responsibilities of adulthood that we forget what it's like to play like children, utilize our imagination, and add a little bit of the mystical or the unknown into our days, rather than the predictability of being on the hamster wheel, so to speak. So I think that's an important takeaway for everybody, is just to invite that little bit of play into your day, whether it's taking the dogs for a walk, or, you know, going to the beach, or going to the gym, or running and thinking that you can't do the extra 2Ks. You know, maybe remember what Dave said about utilizing the energy and being, you know, helped along on your journey by the energy of the universe, that you can take the energy from the trees that you're going past, or the rivers that you're running next to gain the momentum that you need to finish whatever it is that you're doing. But, you know, try it and see. Try it and see if you can think of something that's amazing about somebody, or that you admire about somebody. I wonder how different your day would be, you know. I wonder what experiences you could draw to yourself if you just practiced a little bit of Mr. Dave's wisdom in your day, to see what would come from it. So I'm going to experiment, and then I'm going to share my my thoughts back with Dave when we do our reflection of our episode with you, and see how I can play with my own energy and see what rewards the universe serves up for me. So I'm excited to try it out.
And I'm also like, based on what you shared, Dave, you know, like there's something really important in that we can apply to our life as well. You know, like you said, like about setting an intention. It's just like the vision, like you told me about pulling, you know, like that energy is pulling you rather than pushing. Because sometimes we set goal and then it's like feels like it's pushing and it's going against the flow. Whereas when you're saying like it's the intention pulling you towards, and it's a gentle pull. It's not like dragging you and you feel like, oh, it's like, oh, I don't want to do it at all. It's like I'm so tired to do it. But this is a gentle pull towards your intention. So, and in the playfulness, that's how you can just get pulled by your vision as well. And I feel people can apply that in their life based on what you just shared, because it's not just we were talking. I used it in my run. I know I use it in my martial art as well, because it's about when you thought about like how you use the energy when you're so tired, like your legs are, for example, in martial art, it's like getting really tiring, and then you imagine that energy being playful about it, and then all of a sudden you have this burst of energy, and you're like, and your ego will say, okay, where's that coming from? And you start questioning it, and the moment you start questioning it, it's like it disappears. It's like it's gone. But that's how you say, like, use the playfulness, have fun with it, use your imagination, and like Tina said, be childlike. It's not being childish, but childlike imagination. And that's really powerful what you just shared, Dave. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're most welcome, most welcome. You know, and I think, you know, to a certain extent, everyone feels, you know, like you go out in nature or go for a walk in the bush, and people, we naturally feel, oh, this is wonderful, you know. But then we start thinking about, you know, work or something while we're doing it, but it's just like, yeah, re-teaching yourself just to sit in that space and actually just be in that space. And it takes practice. It doesn't happen straight away. And that's part of the fun as well. And just sit in that space. And I think another thing is journaling is really important. Even if you go, oh, I went for a walk in the forest today and I felt really, really good. I did some breathe, say, pool breathing with the tree, and I felt really good, better than last week or something. The day was sunny, just little things like that. And over time, you actually will write your own manual. You can go back and you can read it, and you'll have your own success manual on your, for your path and your journey. Yeah, which is really important.
We can't wait to see Dave's manual. I've been waiting for that, and I will be happy, like I told you, like to help you with that. And I'm sure, like, if you need any, both of us to help you, I'm pretty sure Tina as well will agree. We'll be more than happy to help you to create that manual, because I feel like it's about sharing. And I know, like, today we just touched like really 1% of what you know. It's like really scratching the surface, because I know like there are other things we can dive in, but we would like to invite you for more. If you want to come back, obviously, to share more of your wisdom, especially about hermetics, for example, because that's a really, I would say, like, uncommon. We have not been having much people speaking about hermetics. I know, like, from my perspective, it was the first time. I think you were the second person I heard speaking about this, and you shared a lot about this, and I feel that's something that can a subject that can really help people in their daily practice, just like you did today. I know you shared a lot of tips over this episode, like a lot of practical tips. Do you have one more before we come to an end for just for today? Do you have like one more piece of wisdom or advice for people, for our listeners, and if you can, and like with where they can connect with you as well, because we would love for people to come to you. And I think it's time to open the Zoom Tai Chi class that we've been talking about. And yeah, so I will leave the floor for you.
Okay, one last tip.
Just for today.
Just for, yes, of course, yes, just for today. I think, yeah, one that is very, very basic, but it's probably the most, I guess, powerful thing that I guess I could teach you is to practice actually just letting go. Now, when I say that, I'll say how. So if you're standing, okay, let's say like a place of power, have your tongue on the upper part of the palate, the higher part of the palate. So it's connecting the red mind and my channels. And just have your hands down by your side. And then what I want you to do is I just want you, on your out breath, I just want you to think like you're just melting, like you're just letting everything go. Your whole body is just melting down. And then just gently breathing in, and then breathe out again, melting more, just letting go. Your whole body is just letting go and melting, just down into the earth. It's a very simple exercise, but just focus on letting go, melting more, 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 more. And you'll become quite skillful at it. And then you can actually do that anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the forest. It can be at work. You can be sitting at the desk. And you can actually bring that process into your mind and you can start doing it. So be a master of melting.
I don't think in the whole 62 episodes that we have not had the mention of surrender, which is, if no one's caught on, that's exactly what Dave was teaching us how to do, is to surrender to the moment. Honestly, it just keeps getting slapped up the backside of my head every single time. But now I've got a really good way of doing it. So I think on that note, that is a brilliant way to wrap up this super special hour that we've had with Dave on the couch today. So from me, we love you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And an extra special thanks to Dave for sharing his wisdom this morning. And I will pass it over to my good friend to wrap up. But thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I don't know how I can do that, like, because it's so powerful. We had so many hours, me and Dave, like talking about spirituality, being open about it. And for me, it's really an honor to be able to share his wisdom with the world. And because for me, it's like going across the world, and people who will hear it, it will help them in their life, but not only them, their families, their community, their country, wherever they are. So I'm really grateful to have you, and for you to share your wisdom. And definitely you will have to come back, of course. There's no getting out of this, Dave. We are bringing you back, so to share more about how you're serving the world. And because hopefully next time when you're coming back, you will have open the Zoom online, like for Tai Chi class, for example. That's gently reminding you. I'm just gently reminding you. And but thank you for sharing your tips, your wisdom, like your bit of your journey. I know we're just scratching, like just the surface of it, but being open to the process and being really this calm energy, like, and by the time of the recording, because Dave and I live in the same town, it was really windy, but with his presence, it feel like everything calmed down, like in that moment of just letting go. And of course, we can't have a Divine Mess episode without that word surrender. So thank you for teaching us how to surrender, be present in the moment, be playful with the energy. And of course, I can do a reflection hour on just what you just shared. So I will invite the listeners to go back to this episode. Thank you for taking time to listen. Thank you for Dave, and thank you for Tina as well for this wonderful episode. And like Tina will always say, we love you. Take good care of yourself and enjoy with the energy of the universe and have fun. Be playful with it. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much.